Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by DraftKings. I am your host, Evan Abrams, and I am joined by Brandon Anderson for some best bets for NFL Week 12. We will get to those bets shortly, but first, as always, I've got my little appetizer here, 2 little fun talking points before we get to Brandon, and obviously he will have an opinion, as our producer David Payne said, on one of them or most likely both of them, but let's continue. So we have 3 double-digit favorites this week, kind of a topic of conversation and handicapping. Those big favorites, so double-digit favorites are 12-1 straight up and 8-5 against the spread so far this season. This week, that is the Ravens, the Seahawks, and the Lions. The note really is the fact that double-digit favorites are 54-8 straight up, 35, 26, and 1 against the spread over the last 3 seasons, 57% against the spread. Above 500, all 3 years so far, this is the 3rd season. This would be the first time we've seen double-digit favorites above 500 against the spread 3 years in a row in the Super Bowl era. Never happened. So basically, you get a year up, most likely you get a year back. Right now, 3rd consecutive year, we have seen double-digit favorites have some success. So 3 more this week, we will see what happens. The other note there, and then I'll let Brandon kind of talk this through. We used this on the favorites earlier today, but just kind of fun fodder. So last week, the Chiefs had a historic line versus the 8-2 Broncos and lost. This week, a little bit different. So Chiefs are the 15th team since 1990 to be 5-5 straight up or worse and be favored versus a team with an 80-plus win percentage this late in the season. Those previous 14 teams, of course, 14-0 straight up. 12-0-2 against the spread, which would be the Chiefs this week, obviously in a must-win spot, you would think, at 5-5, trying to sneak their way in the playoffs. Brandon Anderson, BA, talk to me. What's up?
Yeah, this point of the season, when a lot of times when a line looks off compared to the records or off what you think it should be, it's usually the books telling us what we think we know about the teams. And so you often should listen to what that line is telling you. In this case, the Chiefs. We'll talk about that game in a while. I really was close to picking Chiefs in that one. One specific reason held me back there. So we'll get back to that. I had a stat too on the big favorites. So I don't really know. This isn't a huge sample. I guess it's about 80 games or so. But over the last decade, in just weeks 11 through 15, so we're right in the middle of this stretch where, if you think of that, we're not quite to the end of the year when you might be like resting or don't have something to play for, but we know who you are at this point. In just those weeks, favorites of more than 10 points, 45 and 36 against the spread. So it's not a huge margin, but 55.6%. It's about 10% ROI if you're just betting those favorites every time. So it is kind of right in this spot of the schedule where, all right, we know the Lions are good. We know the Seahawks are good, right? Like just be backing these teams to take care of business. And we'll get to, of those 3 games you mentioned, one of those, I am indeed backing the favorite and playing the escalator. Another one, I'm taking the underdog. So we've been riding the underdogs. We'll see when we get there. It's certainly going against the trends that we just talked about, that favorites are rolling here. We'll see if they keep rolling this week.
Yeah, it's like an old school handicapping methodology. Like if you've been doing this for a long time, you've always said to yourself, let's go with the double digit underdog. And you kind of always told yourself it was like the blind thing to do. It hasn't been lately. And that's just because favorites are covering at a ridiculous rate. And no matter what it is, the better team wins, the better team covers, the better quarterback covers. Like it's kind of just been what we've seen lately. So interesting enough, we will see what happens this weekend with 3 really bad teams getting a lot of points. All right, so it's that time of year. We have the best deal on Action Pro as a part of our Black Friday presale, and it's live now. Sign up now for our $40 off an annual subscription, which is our biggest sale of the year. Action Pro users get real-time alerts as soon as experts like Sean Kerner, Nick Giffen, Nick Stuckey, Chris Raybon track picks in the app. Now, without Action Pro, you'll need to wait 30 minutes to get alerts and risk not getting the best of the number. You will also get real-time money percentages to see where the smart money is flowing and access to our NFL player prop projections powered by Sean Kerner. Now, the best deal of the year runs through Sunday. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro to sign up now for $40 off an annual subscription. All right, it is time to get to the best bets, the main course. If you want to tail some of these bets, look for the quick slip link in the podcast and video description, or go to actionnetwork.com/bet now. All right, Brandon, we're going to start with the pick six. I don't know. You remind me. This is week 5, 6? I feel like you're 2-4, 3-3. You've hit a few of these, right?
Yeah, we've done 5 so far. We hit the first one, then I got a little aggressive on the underdogs, and we went on L3, but then we hit last week. I believe we're at like 250% ROI right now because, we're throwing 6 money lines together. So we'll be in the good even if we miss the rest of the season, but we're going to keep firing. We got 6 picks to make. So this week, starting with 2 big favorites that we just talked about, the Lions and the Seahawks, locked and loaded on those 2, and then ending with 2 primetime favorites, the Rams Sunday night, the Niners on Monday night. But right in the middle, we're getting aggressive again this week. And this is kind of the pick six this week is a pretty good preview of the show to come. Give me the Bengals on the money line, the big money line, and give me the Cardinals. All those 6 together. Look, it was about 21-1 when I took it. The Burrow news and the Bengals news has been all over the place. So I don't quite know exactly what the line is at this moment, but we're going to get into really most of those games on our show today. So Lions, Seahawks, Rams, Niners is the big favorites. Cardinals, Bengals got to win, not just to cover. Get them all together, something like 20-1, and we'll see if we can get our biggest pick six of the season.
You really gave away. We're just going to get into it right now because you gave away our first pick here. As we're getting into Bengals and Patriots, you're putting the Bengals in your pick six on the money line. So I wonder what you're doing in that game. My only question is, so I looked in the rundown when I started putting some notes together, figuring out some bets I like myself. I saw Bengals -6.5 versus the Patriots, and I asked myself, I wonder if that's is that a problem? Is that something on purpose? So you tell me, are we laying 6.5?
That was a typo, but you know me, like you're right to just not assume typo. Like that would have. Now I'm like, shoot, man, maybe I didn't go far enough. Maybe Bengals -6.5. Let's really get aggressive here.
Correct.
So yeah, Bengals to cover the 6.5 plus 6.5 there. Bengals on the money line, it's plus 250. Evan, you and I are rocking both Bengals shirts today on the video if you're watching. So this is a Team Bengals podcast, and this was the hot read. So you already heard me talk about this matchup a little bit. You've already read it in the hot read in the pick six. Look, start here. We took a +7 on the hot read, and within 24 hours, I wasn't loving it. Not the pick necessarily, but I wasn't loving that the line moved the other way because I didn't think Jamar Chase was going to get suspended for Spitgate, but he did. Jamar Chase is out for this game, so the line starts bumping up. Got as high as in the 9 range. Then, later in the week as the drama continues, Joe Burrow starts practicing, full practice, as Flacco is limited in practice. Burrow's taking the snaps with the starting center. It sure looks right now like Burrow may actually play in this game, and certainly books seem to think so, because now the line is back down to 6.5, even 6 points. So turns out a hot read was right all along. We're on the right side of the CLV, but I still like Bengals here. Obviously, losing Chase, not great. Burrow in, definitely good and a bigger gain. I think overall that's at least a couple points in Cincinnati's favor. And frankly, I think this is one of the worst lines of the season, wherever it lands in that range, because I have it closer, I have it Patriots under a field goal if Burrow is in.
Wow.
So I'm still going to like this here. And look, we know how bad the Bengals defense is by DVOA, and we know how I love DVOA. Through 10 games, this is the worst measured defense in history by DVOA. Now, that's not great. However, defense is not sticky, and you can really only get better than the worst in history, so they can only go up from there. And the Patriots are 29th defensively by DVOA, despite the record being so good. And they're bottom 5 against the pass. Milton Williams is out. They got a bunch of injuries on the front 7. And then if you look at the matchup, what's made the Patriots so good this year? It's Drake May, right? That's why he's the MVP co-favorite, basically. That's the one big advantage, is Drake May in the passing game. Okay, well, what if Joe Burrow is back? Because your one big advantage just got negated by a quarterback that we all know is at least as good as Drake May. And despite all the gaudy production on the 9-2 record, Patriots are 10th offensively. They can't run the ball, so they can't hurt this really bad run D. The Bengals, by DVOA, are 3rd offensively the last 6 games of the season. They have been red hot, and this team at home is something else entirely. On the road, they've been a bottom 5 offense. At home, top 5. This from Anthony DeBund, our old colleague. Last 12 games at home for Cincinnati, 36.8 points a game. They've scored 30 or more, all but one of those. So if you want to avoid the Patriots side and just go team total escalator Bengals, I don't blame you there. But I'm going to like this with Burrow. And just so you're hearing it, I'm going to like it with Flacco also. Flacco, 3 home Bengals games this season. They scored 33, 38, and 42. So he's doing just fine. His home games, Flacco, he had a win this season against the Steelers with the Bengals. He had a win against the Packers. We know that earlier in the season. And then he had 2 1-point losses and a game where he would have won by 1, but they lost in the final minute. That's been his home game. So to me, zoom out. We just have a shootout here. Shootout at the OK Corral. And I get the better offense. The Bengals have the better weapons. And now if Burrow's playing, the better quarterback too. So give me the 6.5 or the 6, whatever best line you can get, obviously. Give me the plus 250 money line. I'll say this, probably at this point, you may wait and find out who's actually playing quarterback. Because if it's Burrow, you're going to lose a little bit more on the line, but you're going to know it's Burrow and you're going to want the pick. If it's not Burrow and it goes back to Flacco, I do think it gets to 7 or past again. You're going to get a better line out of it. So I think go ahead and wait. But for the podcast today, as we're live now, that's the pick. And then I still like the division odds as well at 40-1. Up next, Ravens on Thanksgiving, then Bills and Ravens. It's not going to be easy, but those are winnable games if the offense hits on all cylinders. Obviously, Jamar Chase will be back then. I'm Team Bengals. I'm giving them one more shot here. It's the home desperation spot. And I've got some props here, but I've been talking a lot about Bengals. We're Team Bengals today. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, mini sidebar question. So the line is 6.5 right now. Obviously, we don't know if Burrow's going to start. Let's just play hypothetical for a second. Say Burrow would have started off the bye like last week, and we would have been super confused and been like, oh my God, I can't believe it. But he started, he played okay. What would the line have been this week on open knowing Burrow was going to play?
Yeah, I think that the line that we're looking at right now is largely assuming Burrow. Like, I think it's possible we hit like 5.5 if he plays, but that's kind of in the dead zone. And I can't see this getting down to like 4 or something like that. So I think somewhere like -6 open seems about right to me for Patriots of what I would have expected in that spot.
Fantastic. Okay, so given that scenario, I think you just like I would have expected maybe a lower line, maybe 4.5. Like, but I guess I'm looking at the public liking of Burrow in a sense that the Patriots have been really unbelievable. Like, even though they've been beating up on kind of inferior opponents, and this is again an inferior opponent with a terrible defense, like the Burrow respect might have gotten a few points, but we'll see what happens as the league goes on. As the week goes on. I'll say this as well, as though Burrow has closed as an underdog of 3 points or more 20 times in his career. He's 17-3 ATS as a dog of 3 or more, which is pretty crazy. We've heard this a bunch of times. So that's one other angle I would say. Patriots have won 8 straight. Teams that have won 8 straight, pretty bad. 39% against the spread, 11-20 since 2020. Usually, as everyone understands, market goes one way, line gets inflated. This is a little bit of a different situation since you have basically a top 3-star quarterback coming back on the other side. So line's playing a little funny. But what other props do you like here?
Yeah, it's so funny. I was literally just pulling up Bet Labs as you gave that stat out going, wait a minute, we might get Joe Burrow as an underdog too. That's like an auto bet for me usually, especially if it's more than 3. So given that, I think probably, the line probably wouldn't have started at -6 if we knew Burrow is in, because I think they're taking money immediately on Cincinnati in that spot. So maybe it's a touch below. But yeah, we get that spot as well. Winning record outright for Burrow as a 3+ underdog for his career. So we love that. I'm looking at props here for 2 guys, and it's really the 2 obvious guys because Jamar Chase is out. So give me the other Chase, Chase Brown, receiving, not rushing, and give me T. Higgins. So I'll start with T. Higgins. He's the guy, obviously, with no Jamar Chase. And at first you might think, well, that's not great. I'd rather have him be getting the second coverage. But the Patriots on the season are dead last DVOA against wide receiver 1. That has been their worst spot covering. They're averaging against, I'm going to call 7 guys they faced this year, kind of a true wide receiver 1. 5 of the 7 had at least 6 catches and 97 yards, average 6 for 90. T. Higgins, last 5 games without Chase, that's about his numbers too. 6.2 catches, 102 yards, 3 of the 5 games, 114 yards. So that's kind of the line I'm shooting for with Higgins. 90 yards is where I'm going to play it at plus 240. So kind of just shooting right for the outlier. And then I like this part better if it's Flacco, actually, just because of what we've seen. He has 5 touchdowns, T does, in the 5 Flacco games, all but one game. So a touchdown is plus 140. And then if you do those together, 90 yards and a score, plus 425 at DraftKings. So I'm going to play all these either way. I do like the touchdown a little bit more just because of the chemistry with Flacco. But, obviously no Jamar Chase makes touchdown a little bit easier there. And then Chase Brown, the Patriots allow the least running back fantasy points. That's because the run defense. But they allow the most running back receptions. They've allowed 7 running backs already, at least 5 catches on the season. Achane and Bijan, 8 catches each against the Patriots. So Chase Brown, the key here is Samaje Perine. We're betting on T because Chase is out. We're betting on Brown because Perine is out. Perine's the receiving back, and with him out right now, Brown's played almost 90% of the snaps the last 2 weeks, and here's what he's done as a receiver. 8 targets, 6 catches for 28 one game, 14 targets, 8 for 75 in the other game. And what you like here is even if we're wrong about the Bengals, maybe they kind of get blown out, maybe the Patriots run it up. That's a pretty good game script for Chase Brown catching passes out of the backfield. So I like the over 4.5 catches for Chase Brown. That's even odds. And then I'll go 6, 7, 8 catches up the escalator, plus 175, plus 320, plus 650 on those. And again, I will say this, I really like this with Joe Flacco. He's this season in 9 starts, he's had a running back catch 5, 6, 8, and 8 passes. So I definitely like it with Flacco. If he's in, I'm still playing all of these. I'll still play them with Burrow either way because, he's pretty good too. I can live with that. So Chase Brown, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the catches. T. Higgins, 90 yards, 90 and a score. And then Bengals all the way, plus 6.5, best line you can get, plus 250 money line, best line you can get. Obviously, this is going to be first screen for me. This is the big game for me this week. And I'll be watching our Bengals and see what they can do.
Yeah, I think you're going to get probably another week without Gesicki as well. Looks like he's starting to practice, but I don't think he's ready yet. So probably just Fant. And you had said it, but Higgins without Chase, obviously he's the only guy there. Numbers should be good. But last 3 games, 8 targets, 9 targets, 13 targets. And he's got 100+ yards in each game, touchdown in 2 of the 3 games, at least 5 receptions in all 3 games. The numbers are there. So I think whether we're right about the Bengals or they're trailing, these props seem to have kind of a foolproof script. But so kind of like this situation. But all right, you ready for their next game here?
Yeah, we got enough Bengals for one podcast. Let's go to our next one.
Let's go Bengals. All right, next one, not as exciting, but still an interesting handicapping spot. Jaguars and Cardinals here. How you betting it?
Yeah, so no real spoiler here since the Cardinals were in my pick 6 on the money line, but I like the Cardinals at plus 3. I'll be playing the money line as well. This is really just kind of a baffling line to me. We're making the Jaguars a full 3 on the road against a decent team. I'm just not there with that. This to me is a great spot to buy low on Arizona and a great spot to sell high on Jacksonville. So we kind of get the double whammy here. On our Sunday recap, we talked about both these teams. Cardinals kind of got unlucky. They lucked into finally healthy 49ers. So everyone thinks that they look terrible now, but the Cardinals have really been in almost every game this season until that one. Jacksonville did get lucky. They faced the Chargers with nobody left in the trenches and no offensive line anymore, and they kind of ran up on them. But I think that has really shifted this line too far. To me, these teams are back-to-back in my power ratings. These are relatively equal teams, and Arizona's at home, so I'd make the Cardinals favorites right here. I think the defense for Arizona is the best unit on the field. Does look good. Garrett Williams and Will Johnson, their top 2 corners, both practicing, so hopefully they're out there. Jacksonville, their entire roster is in the injury report. It's a list of 20 names right now. Tootin and Etienne, both the running backs. Brian Thomas Jr., we know Travis Hunter's out. Strange is practicing, but he doesn't look like he'll be ready yet. Both trenches, they got some guys injured. Both top corners are possibly out. I'm going to guess a bunch of these guys play, but it's a mess on the injury report. And especially those running backs, I think, matter because one spot Jacksonville could have an edge would be running the ball against this opponent. But I think if both those guys are limited or not top notch, that matters too. And then Cardinals, obviously missing Marvin Harrison and missing Kyler, but they've looked honestly better without those guys right now. They're functioning really well with Jacoby Brissett. And this is just a really, really strong trend spot for Arizona. So couple trends against Trevor Lawrence, 10 and 15 ATS as a favorite, only 40% cover rate, 7 and 16 against teams below 500, 30% ATS for Trevor Lawrence. So not the overdog that you want to be betting on. And then some team agnostic trends. These are just 3 trends that all say the same thing. Sell high Jacksonville, buy low Arizona. So teams that just won by 17 or more as a touchdown or less underdog, that's Jacksonville, 35% ATS the following game, 65, 121, and 3. Similar trend, teams off a 17-point loss, Arizona, against teams off a 17 or more win, 59% cover rate. And then a last somewhat similar, home teams, Arizona, against an underdog that covered by 25 or more. That's Jacksonville since 2010, 40, 15, and 1 ATS, 73%. So just a lot of value here on the underdog. And I really can't believe we're getting the +3. Like, we get the full key number here. So I love to get that. And plus 145 on the money line as well. And then, of course, we're going to keep riding with Trey McBride. It's tight ends day 2 here on the podcast. So start with McBride. Brissett games 5 times now, 8.4 catches, 89 yards a game, at least 1 touchdown every game with Brissett. Jaguars' second most tight end points allowed. And don't we know it? This was our Brock Bowers smash. This was the team that we played the big not line against with Bowers. So last 7 games against a tight end 1, 6 touchdowns given up by Jacksonville. So McBride touchdown, second straight week. Just run it back, +110. And we got to 2 touchdowns at 7-1 also because, we like the Cardinals here. So he'll have a couple shots to score. And then a couple others here. McBride receptions with Brissett, 8, 9, 10, and 10 in 4 of those 5 games. So let's go 10 receptions for Trey at +220. And if you like the Arizona angle, McBride touchdown in a Cardinals win, if you want the same game parlay, is +305. So I love Arizona. I think this is a really bad number. And Jacksonville should not be favored by 3 in this game.
Yeah, that 3's disappearing as well. 3's becoming -105. I think it'll probably come down before kickoff, so I think that's a good number before the weekend. The thing that's crazy to me about the McBride stuff, so we've seen the more touchdowns with Brissett than Kyler. Like, I think the numbers make sense. The stat a little bit overblown, but when you look a little bit deeper about the touchdowns that McBride has actually caught from one quarterback versus the other, it's actually pretty crazy. So McBride has caught a touchdown pass of 10+ yards 6 times in his career. None have come with Kyler. He's done it 5 times with Brissett, once with Josh Dobbs. He has more touchdown passes of 10+ yards with Josh Dobbs than he does with Kyler Murray. Just insane all around. So I think it's a different offense, and he's getting the ball in better spots with Brissett. So not only is he getting looked at more often, but I really just believe that, like, overall throughout the game, leading, trailing, like, he's a bigger part of the offense. Also, no Marvin Harrison kind of changes a lot of things that's going on here. It's the reason Michael Wilson went absolutely nuts. So that's the handicap there. But all right, let's keep going here. Cowboys, Eagles. Now, this one has a lot involved here between Dallas's offense, what we've seen from Philly. So I think a lot of people seem to be going to Dallas's side this week. Like, they're getting a few points at home. Their offense seems to be clicking lately. You've gotten some upgrades on the defensive side. Like, everything momentum-wise seems to be going with Dallas. Why do you agree?
Yeah, I'm on Dallas as well. Give me the +3.5 while it's there. Give me the money line +155. More just on the +3.5 on this one. But yeah, this is a spot that I had circled even before the Monday night game. And obviously they looked really good in that game. But the Eagles just continue to get by on the skin of their teeth. The offense has not really been clicking. I'm looking for ways or spots to fade this team. And look, we saw this in the opener on the season. The Cowboys played them pretty much dead even in that huge adrenaline home spot for Philly, but this time is in Dallas, and that's where it started for me, because in this specific matchup, it's a huge swing. The home team has won 12 of the last 14 games in this rivalry, and the 2 losses by the home team the home team had their backup quarterback in on those. So home rules in this one. And Dallas, we know their offense specifically is just way better at home, clearly more comfortable at home. We know the Cowboys' special teams are better as well. So the advantage for Philly has to be the defense. Okay, well, the defense has been really good, no doubt, for the Eagles in the last couple of weeks especially. But Dallas's defense is improving some. I'm not going to call them good, but they looked positive with Quinnen Williams. And I think they've settled in enough to be just bad, not awful anymore. Like just 10th worst, not Bengals worst. And I think that matters specifically because the Eagles offense, not only has it been struggling, but now is missing Lane Johnson. He's out for at least a month forward, and Cam Jurgens is out. So 2 linemen, and the splits with Lane Johnson are just insane. This season,
Crazy.
On off with Lane Johnson goes plus 0.18 EPA per play, 14% DVOA, plus 51 expected points. For his career from Bill Barnwell, the Eagles with Lane Johnson on the field since they drafted him, 3rd in EPA per play. For his entire career, when he's off, 28th. So they go from a top 3 offense to a bottom 5 offense. And specifically, I think he's the best pass protector in the NFL. So that's a specific Jalen Hurts downgrade when already that's the part we don't trust here. And that's really the part the Eagles have been a little better at lately, if we're being honest. The run game hasn't been great. So that's already a downgrade. We know how I feel about Jalen Hurts. Against teams below 500 in his career, 11, 18, and 2 ATS, 38%. So this is not really the spot for him as the favorite. And Eagles, 8 wins this season, 7 by 1 score. So I want the plus 3.5 because we're getting that above the hook if it's there. I know that one's disappearing a little bit as well, but I'm going to play more of the bet on this one on just the plus 3.5. I do think Dallas is live. I would pick them to win. I will bet the money line, but I could see a world where the Eagles do the Eagles thing again, kind of like Chiefs last year, and come through at the end, win by a field goal, win by 2-point conversion, something like that. So I'll put most of the bet here on the Cowboys plus 3.5, but I really think Dallas can win this game.
Yeah, I'll give you some numbers you're probably going to hear everywhere, and maybe a few you don't. So Dak, 31-13 against the spread versus the NFC East. Other than Aaron Rodgers, he's the best we have in our database. The number you're going to hear everywhere, 21-2 straight up at home versus the NFC East. Absolutely dominated his career. He's won 18 in a row at home in this spot. So, I mean, these are games he usually comes away. Here's the one that knocked me. So when an NFC East team made the playoffs the year before, they're 0-9 straight up when facing Dak in Dallas, losing by 19.6 points per game. So what that is in Dak's career is the team who made the playoffs in the NFC East the year before and never wins the division the next year because of the trend that everyone understands where the team never repeats. So whoever this is seems to be probably fading in the wrong direction when entering this game against Dak, who is undervalued, which is exactly probably the spot we are sitting in at the moment. The one thing that gives me a little bit of pause, listen, these are different teams at different times, but here's an interesting one. So since the start of last year, Hurts is actually 7-0 versus teams who scored 30 plus in their previous game. None of those 7 teams scored 27 versus the Eagles in the game after. So what you're really asking for is Dallas to be able to put up the performance again against the defense that really good, but I think it's Philly's offensive side of the ball that you're alluding to. Is like, can they keep up even if Dallas scores 24 or whatever it is? Because Philly's really banged up, and I think the run game and the Lane Johnson stuff, all of that is completely real. Like, the offense tends to change without pushback on the offensive line side, and I think it's a massive cluster injury that Philly's going to have to deal with here. So I'm on your side.
Yeah, and it's an injury at the most important thing about the Eagles that has become their identity for years now and is why they have been so good year after year. It's the offensive line. Like, that's my first article every fall is the offensive line rankings. That is the underrated thing that makes teams so good year after year. And that is the thing that is fading for them right now. And it's why we're fading this week.
All right, well, here we go. Dallas Cowboys on a run. Nothing like back in that train. One more before the lightning round. Rams, Bucks. I feel like this is the Sunday night football game with so many interesting games beforehand. Not many people talking about it. Like, it honestly is 2 great teams, 2 great records, same conference. What do you make of Rams, Bucks?
Yeah, it really is an interesting game. And I think in the NFC, we've got so many interesting teams vying for position. We're going to probably get one of these NFC type games every week at this point. But this feels like it could be a playoff game. And I think not even necessarily a first round playoff game in the NFC. But yeah, not a lot of talk about it. I like the Rams, and it's -6.5. I'm going to grab it before the 7 if you can. I feel like there's a lot of talk this week about maybe time to sell the Rams. They've probably reached peak value after the Seahawks. I'm not quite there yet, and I think books haven't quite caught up still to what should be a true Buccaneers rating. So they're 13th in DVOA on the season, but last 6 games, the offense, what's supposed to be the strength on this team, 19th overall, 22nd passing, so almost bottom 10, and it makes sense, right? No Chris Godwin, no Mike Evans, still no Bucky Irving. It looks like Godwin and Irving are out again. The O-line is banged up. It just hasn't really been healthy. And the defense, I think, has kind of overperformed what we thought they would be. And I'm not sure they're going to against an offense as good and as potent as the Rams. I think this is specifically a pretty bad matchup for Todd Bowles' defense. Defense invites the pass because they're so good against the run. Well, guess who can pass? MVP favorite Matthew Stafford is going to be able to pass just well. And the Rams lead the league in most play action. Buccaneers are bottom 5 EPA per play against play action. Their linebackers have been getting picked on week after week, game after game all season. And I have to come back to it. That 13 personnel, it really didn't play a huge thing in the Seahawks game. This is the matchup for it. 13 personnel, 3 tight ends on the field. The goal is to force linebackers to get on the field. And if you do that against the Buccaneers, you can put up some big points on them. On the season, Tampa, when they have faced 2 tight ends or more with 4 or fewer defensive backs on the field, worst in the NFL, 9 yards per attempt facing opposing passes in that. That's a first down, basically, on every play. So I'm running back Terrence Ferguson. We're not out, baby. We're going longest reception escalator again, but there's no lines. But keep an eye. It'll be in the app. Buccaneers allow bottom 12 most explosive plays as well. I didn't even mention as well, Jamel Dean has been awesome for Tampa Bay. Their corner, he's the number 1 rated PFF corner on the season, and he looks like he's out in this one. He got hurt early last game, and you don't want to be missing your top corner against Puka and Devontae Adams out there. So I just can't figure out why this line shouldn't be higher. And instinctively, it's like, well, the Bucs are pretty good. Shouldn't it be lower? But last week, Bills were -5.5. Now Rams are 6.5. Well, I think the Rams are more than a point better than the Bills. I think they're a way better defense and the better offense. And I liked the Bills last week and wanted to take them, and they won by 12. That's closer to what I make this line as. So I'm not going to be intimidated by the line this time. I got scared away last week. It felt a little high. I'm not scared away this time. Below the key number, easy money on Sunday night. Give me the Rams -6.5.
Yeah, you stole my thunder. I mean, the Dean injury to me is top notch. Like that's probably the one to look at the most here, especially with the wide receivers and the issue that can give. And the 13 personnel and however they want to scheme 2 tight ends on the field, just going to put Vita Vea going in both directions. And you just want him confused and not coming after the quarterback. So to me, that is the right way to handle it. A few stats just to roll down here because it all kind of works with you. Baker's played 13 night games since 2021. 2-11 straight up in those games. Hasn't been good. Here's the one that I thought was interesting. Todd Bowles, as a head coach, never faced back-to-back road games where both teams were above 500. So all those years with the Jets, all with the Bucs, like this is a situation where tough road game to tough road game, lots of injuries. I think Tampa Bay could attract some tickets and money just by the large number and the names and the record. But if you actually look at the team, it's not very pretty. And one more for you. After an ATS loss, McVay now 8-0 straight up as a favorite since the start of 2023. So you have faith with the Rams. Now you just got to cover the number. So, all right, we will see what happens there. Let's get to our lightning round here. Just another game on the docket. I said of all the double-digit favorites this week, this was probably my favorite for a blowout. I would prefer a certain quarterback on the other side, but we will have to see there. You're looking at Giants and Lions. What do you like here?
Yeah, I think we're on the same page. Give me the Lions -10, and I'm going to play the blowout escalator as well. So this was the look ahead we gave out last week, 9.5. Hasn't really moved up like I thought it would. I still like it just as much. There's no dead cat bounce here for the coach. That's done already. No running back one, no receiver one for the Giants. I don't know which quarterback is going to be, honestly. And I'm honestly not positive which one I prefer. I prefer Russell Wilson. If you give me Russell Wilson, I'd love a Russell Wilson out there.
Please.
Like Dart played pretty well, but I don't know if he's going to feel comfortable running. Jameis is just kind of variance and can always light up a secondary, and there are some injuries out there. So I kind of feel like I might just be okay with Dart in there personally, but I'm pretty okay with either side of it because Giants' run defense is just going to get mutilated in this game. Dead last DVOA, dead last EPA per play. Against Sonic and Knuckles, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are just going to run over, through, into the woods, everything on this Giants defense. I wanted running back overs here. I just can't figure out which one. Like, it just might be a little bit of everything. So I did notice Detroit runs a little better inside on the season, but they run more often outside. That's where the Giants are more vulnerable, 32nd in EPA per play. So I would think probably that's Jahmyr Gibbs, outside runs, maybe like a longest run, a big long one by Gibbs or something like that. We'll see, and maybe I'll add that into the app. But some of the old tried and true stats with the Lions. Jared Goff indoors with the Lions, now 36, 13-1 ATS. Just unbelievable, 73% cover rate. And the Lions defense is number one at home this season versus just kind of top 10-ish on the road. So that helps as well. And then a stat that I know you have in your article, 13 straight times now the Lions have covered off of a loss. This year, 3-0 after a loss, wins by 15, 22, and 31. Double-digit favorites for the Lions since the start of last year. 5-0, they have wins by 24, 38, and 46. So I was just ready to tell you Lions -10, good get-right spot into Thanksgiving. I'm still there, but I added last second. This is my last pick I added into the doc. All right, what's the escalator? So last 2 years, the Lions have won 7 times by 22 or more points. So we'll start with Lions -20.5, 3 touchdowns basically, plus 348. They've won 4 times by 31 or more. So we'll go -30.5 at 11-1. And then they haven't done it yet this year, but last year they had wins by 38, 38, and 46. Can Brian Dable get fired again if that happens? I don't really know. But the highest line I can find out there is Detroit -37.5, which is exactly that number that they hit 3 times last year. That's 25-1. So Lions by 10, and then by 21, 31, and 38. And, when Detroit really gets going, as they haven't for a while now, but if they do, if this is a good get-right spot, like you said, this could be blowout city.
The team with a pedigree like the Giants defense, so teams allowing 24 plus points per game since the start of last year, facing Goff and Campbell. The Lions are 8-0 straight up against the spread, covering by 19 points per game. They are averaging 43 points per game in those games. They scored 44 plus in 5 of the 8 games. Absolute and utter dismantling, because usually these spots tend to actually come after a close, tight game against a good team or a loss and a letdown. Like, it just kind of happens to be that way, and you sit in this spot again. I think if I'm getting my wish, I think I'd probably want Jameis, but I think either way, like Dart kind of scares me a little bit. And with Jameis, I feel like there's plenty of opportunities for me to get points, from the Detroit side, the Giants side. Like, there's, even if the Giants stay in the game, I feel like I always have a shot. I think 10 would be nice here, right? Because even at 3, you feel like there's an opportunity, while 10.5, you kind of need a lot to happen. So I'm with you though. Detroit, here we go. All right. Let's go to the next one here. Seattle and the Titans. Huge road line, but listen, it's Tennessee. It's what you get every single week with them. So I assume you're not laying it. So how are you taking it?
Yeah, not laying it this one, not on the road. This is another one of those big double-digit favorites. I'm going to take the under here, and just give me the game under, 40.5. So last week we got the DVOA Bowl, 1 versus 2, Seahawks versus Rams. Whatever the opposite, like this is the DVOA Toilet Bowl. It's 1 versus 32. Like, it's the best team and the worst team. And look, Seattle, we talked about it on the recap. Their defense was awesome last week. Their defense was the best thing on the field against the Rams, and their defense has been number 1 on the road this season. We know how good the Seahawks are on the road, better than at home for whatever reason. And the Titans offense is about as bad as it gets. They're dead last in points per game on the season, 14.3. Against a top 10 defense, they're averaging 11 points a game. So I started as, okay, team total under. Well, the line's 13.5, so there's not a lot of margin there. Not a great offensive line, not great weapons. Calvin Ridley's out again. Cam Ward has not been great. Probably a little better out of the bye week, but I don't really trust the coaching staff there anyway. So I'm kind of thinking under on Titans. But on the flip side, the one weakness that I still see in Seattle is the run game, and in particular, the interior offensive line right now. My beloved NDSU center and guard are both out for the Seahawks. And right now, in this matchup, that really matches up against what's, I think, the one strength on the Titans, their D tackles. Jeffrey Simmons has been unbelievable this year. Tavondre Sweat has been really good as well. I think that is maybe the best D tackle combo in the NFL when healthy, which they haven't really been. So I don't love that interior pressure maybe coming all game against Sam Darnold. Maybe we just kind of get an ugly, just get the win and get out of here Seattle type game. I'm not too worried that they'll get the win. These are two of the three lowest variance teams for the season. So it's kind of just saying this is who we are. And Seattle is good and Tennessee is bad. I thought this was kind of like a free space for the pick six article that I did as far as the money line. But I like the under totals that are between 39 and 44 that have dropped a point to 4 points since 2017. So basically, the market is telling you under. Keep playing the under in that spot. It's 54.3% of the under on a pretty big sample size. I'm already seeing this 40, 39.5. I think this is going to keep dropping a little bit more. So give me the under 40.5. And I think this is just kind of an ugly snoozer that probably will be down at the end of our rundown on Sunday night.
Yeah, when under Mike Macdonald, when Seattle's a favorite, they allow 18 points per game. When Seattle's a road favorite, it's 15.7 points per game. Tennessee's team total, like you said, is around 13.5. I even looked this one up. Last decade, we've seen 5 games with a road favorite of over 11 points and a total of 42 or less, which is basically Vegas telling us, or whoever's setting the lines these days, this is what the line is, this is what's going to happen. Correct score, 28-13, 27-13, something of that nature. So in all 5 of those games, one team scored 17 or less in all 5. The under was 4-1. So I think basically what you're saying is can Tennessee score 17 points? If they do, it probably sneaks over. Seattle's going to score between 24 and 28. The one thing I'll say is this, and I was quickly just scrolling DraftKings. I think some correct scores could be fun here, like 28-13. 27-13, like certain numbers. I feel like this one is a little predictable, and I think Tennessee's score especially. And I'm not necessarily sure like Mike Macdonald's going to run it up. This isn't him trying to go for the polls. So I think that can be some fun you can have. So that was my opinion.
Hope for 27-13, not 28-13, because only one of those hits are under.
I know. I had thought about that when scrolling through, but. Just something fun to note. All right, let's keep going here. We talked about this at the top in my 2 big points, but KC Indy, how are you attacking this one? Because I feel like the lines, it's a strange one.
Yeah, so Chiefs are -3.5, and I just really looked hard at Chiefs. I looked at Chiefs pretty hard on my pick 6. Did I want them in the money line? It's obviously the big game of the week. I think Chiefs 5-5, sort of fighting for their life and their playoff spot. I still instinctively trust the Chiefs at home in a really big spot. The defense is way better at home. Klevta on Twitter talks about the opponent team total going under in that spot against the Chiefs defense. But above -3, it's pretty tough, man. The Colts have been really good this season. But against real teams, have they been that good? They beat the Chargers by 14. Well, I don't know if that really counts how real, given all the injuries on their line and everything. Otherwise, they lost the Rams. They lost the Steelers by a touchdown each. They beat the Broncos, but by 1 and kind of on a fluke penalty at the end of the game. Not super impressive against top competition. They've had a pretty soft schedule so far. So I was ready to go Mahomes. We know the stats, right? As a 3-point favorite or worse for his career, 70% ATS. Well, 2-3 ATS this year. Okay, maybe not. After a loss, 23-6 straight up for Mahomes. Well, 2-2 after a loss this year. Okay, so maybe I'm a little hesitant. And then the other thing that caught me is what led me to the pick I'm going to make here, which is a prop instead. Indy's coming off the bye. Mahomes is 0-4 ATS against an opponent off the bye in his career, and specifically, he's facing Lou Anarumo's defense coming off a bye with time to prep, and Lou Anarumo has really, really messed with Mahomes in his career. Look, all those times Mahomes and Burrow back to Bengals, Anarumo was the defensive coordinator for the Bengals all those seasons. And he really got the defense messing with Mahomes and with his timing in those games. So that sort of threw me off. But then I thought, hey, what else do I know about Lou Anarumo? Lou Anarumo's defenses are awful against tight ends. So I'm going Travis Kelce here. Bengals were the worst team against tight ends last year. They're awful again this year. The Colts are now the 5th worst team against tight ends. 5th worst DVOA, 5th most tight end points allowed. They're really good against wide receiver 1. So this is not a Rashee Rice game necessarily. I think it's a Travis Kelce game. The Colts haven't really faced great tight ends yet, but they did give up 164 and a touchdown to Gadsden, kind of his breakout game. They did face Trey McBride. He had 871 in a score. So I think Kelce's line, it's 50 and a half yards. I think it's just disrespectful to the old man. Like I know we're kind of like getting ready to send him out to pasture soon. Even with him coming down this season, he's at 47 yards or more all but one game. That's the line, basically. We need 4 yards above his floor to hit the over. So over 50 and a half yards. And I'm not going to go super too crazy on the escalator. I'm not picturing like a 200-yard crazy Kelce game. But last 6 games for Kelce, he's had 6 catches for 60 yards. 4 of those, that's plus 192, 6 for 60. So we'll play that as well. And then 3 of those 6, he's had that with the touchdown. Add the touchdown as plus 390. So not a huge outlier here. Just a good quality Travis Kelce game in what kind of is a playoff game, right? Kelce saves his best for the games they absolutely need it. And they need it in this game from him. And I think that they're going to kind of take the bubble wrap off and use Travis as much as they can. So over the 50 and a half yards, 660, and with a touchdown for the escalator.
I think there's some fun narrative props you can possibly look into for KC Indy this week, because I think Tyler Warren could score, Kelce could score. There could be some conversation back and forth because Warren's had an unbelievable season. I also think Kelce, first touchdown, Kelce to get 2. Like, I think Casey's up against the ropes. I think Worthy hasn't been involved in the offense since Rice came back, and everyone knows that Rice is where Mahomes has been keying into. So I feel like Kelce has an opportunity here in the middle of the field. The stats that I looked into, because depending on how you think this game is going to go, will kind of depend on how you feel about Travis. But the question I have is, who leads Kansas City in receiving yards when Casey's been trailing in this year? The answer is Kelce. Who has the most receptions when Casey's been trailing? The answer is also Kelce, 23. Kelce has 17 first downs when Casey's trailing. The thing is that if you like the Colts, which you can go back and forth here, but even if Casey's winning, I still think he's going to get a lot of the work. And if they're trailing, I think those stats really come into play. And I think in the red zone, they're going to look to Kelce here. So I think there's a possibility of, even if he gets real tight on some of these 50, 60 yards, I think he could score once or twice. So that's my feeling.
Yeah, I think he's set up for a good game. And I was just thinking, it's kind of crazy that this is not like the late afternoon game. It just feels like it should be like the game of the week. And instead, I don't know if you've looked at what the late afternoon slate is, but we've got 4 pretty rough games. So unless Cowboys-Eagles lives up to what we're hoping for, it could be kind of a rough late afternoon. I think Travis Kelce should be catching passes at like 5 o'clock. I don't know why we're not doing that.
You're right. The one piece of news today I saw was Daniel Jones now questionable. So obviously take a look there. He had like an injury designation, probably good to go. But also, how much disrespect? All eyes will be in Vegas at 4:25 or 4:05 p.m. Eastern for Shador's debut. Believe me, everyone will be watching that game no matter what. All right, but let's keep going here. Forget Shador in Cleveland. This is a different game. Falcons Saints. This line was Atlanta 2.5. Now New Orleans up to -2. I have a great fun stat to follow this up, but what's your prop here?
Yeah, I can't believe that we're in a world where Tyler Shuck is a favorite as we hit week 12. And the Saints seem to be the sharp side, too.
Steam.
Like, people are on the Saints. To me, it's a bit of an overreaction. Obviously, Michael Penix is out and Drake London is out. So it's Kirk Cousins' season. Kirk against opponents off a bye, 2-9 ATS in his career.
Woof.
Like, I don't know who wins the game. I honestly don't really care who wins this game. These teams are not relevant anymore. I do know Kirk Cousins, though, and Kirk loves to throw to his tight end. And with Drake London out, Kyle Pitts is pretty much the only guy Kirk can throw to. So it's tight ends day here again on the podcast. Pitts' biggest game of the season so far was his career high receptions, 9, with Kirk Cousins for 59 yards. And in that game, Drake London was out too. So this isn't really a Saints matchup thing. This is just, I think Pitts is basically the wide receiver one for Kirk, and I think he's going to pepper him all game long. He's had 7 receptions, 2 other games this season, along with that 9. So I'm going to take just a small Pitts escalator, 7 catches, 8 and 9 at DraftKings. That's plus 280 for 7, plus 513 for 8, plus 960 for 9. I just think Kirk's going to have to throw to someone, and this is an ugly game, but if we got to pay attention to it, we may as well pay attention with some Kyle Pitts.
Going with what you said, Pitts should get a lot of balls in this one. He should be peppered without London, especially some of the numbers I had used on the favorites earlier today. Absolutely ridiculous what Penix and Cousins have been doing, targeting wide receivers not named Drake London. I believe in those 4 games, it's like 13 of 37 in terms of catches and targets. So in this one, I think Pitts makes all the sense. Breakout week for Kyle Pitts. Let's do it. All right, let's keep going here. Oh God. So I kind of told you a few seconds ago we weren't going to talk about Browns and Raiders. I made the mistake because it was in the rundown. I knew that in the back of my mind. But the Super Bowl, also known as Shador's debut, this is a real interesting one because I was looking through DraftKings before, trying to come up with a few props, a few ways to play this. It's early since we record this at about 6 p.m. On Thursday. So the question is what's available and how can we attack Shador's start? Because I think we both like the same angles.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone out there is talking about how can we fade Shedeur Sanders? How do we do it? And I don't want to do it with Raiders -4. Like, that's just a hilarious line. I basically zero out Shedeur Sanders as a quarterback value, and I still have the Browns favored. I can't talk myself into Raiders -4. Even if that's right, I think the way you want to do this is we might not get... If Shedeur is as bad as so many people think that he may be, and we'll get to it, then you have to be aggressive. And you might not get to bet this too many times, and you've got to bet aggressively. So we took the under on the hot read, under 37.5. Both defenses are the advantage. Raiders' top 10 defense DVOA last 6 games, even after the Dallas game. So look, Shedeur Sanders, Browns, you had some of these stats in your article. 1999 when they returned as a franchise. This is now the 18th quarterback making his first career start. 0-17 for the first set of guys. So not a great start. I really, really wanted to go contrarian and just take Browns money line here. There's no way. I cannot bet on Shedeur Sanders. 42 quarterbacks starting in that stretch. I think he might be one of the worst. So including the preseason,
wow,
59 dropbacks on 20 drives, 31 pressures out of 59 dropbacks, 9 sacks. So here are the numbers. 53% pressure rate, 29% sack to pressure, 15% sack rate, because the dude holds the ball so long. In the preseason, he was almost 4 seconds time to throw. We have quarterbacks getting it out in like 2.5. That is nearly double that. He was 3.2 seconds to throw on Sunday. His line right now is 28.5 attempts. At those numbers that I just gave out, the different rates, that would imply at least 5 sacks. That honestly, that feels low. Like that, he might get broken in half the way that the sacks are going to pile up in this game. So I want sacks. Above everything else, I want sacks in this game. But there's not a lot of lines up yet as we record this. So Geno, he's going to get some sacks too. He's been sacked at least 4 times in half the games. Myles Garrett has a 4-sack and a 5-sack game in the last 3 weeks alone. So I think we get sacks both ways. I'll tell you this, just keep it in mind, the record in NFL history for sacks in a game is 18 in 1978 by the Packers and Chargers. I think you know how I feel if I'm looking up the record for sacks in a game. I just think we're getting sacks every direction here. Usually, some books, I believe DraftKings posts like over 2.5, over 3.5 Browns sacks, Raiders sacks. Give me that for the Raiders because I think we're going to get some sacks of Shedeur. I'd love like an escalator there. I don't think we'll find that one, but like a 5+ escalator on the sacks. I do think we'll be able to bet Max Crosby to get a sack. So that's my official bet here. Crosby has at least 1 sack in 5 of 10 games this season. His last time with the line was a quarter of a sack. We're not getting that against Shedeur. They're too smart to give us that, but I'll take a sack for him. And then again, I think if you want to bet against Shedeur, if you really think he's as bad as I'm making him sound, and I think he's that bad, you got to go big. So I got DraftKings, Raiders first sack, -125. No thanks. Like Myles Garrett could just get a sack if the Raiders get the ball first, and now we're cooked there. Browns 10 points or less, +210 at DraftKings. not aggressive enough. Like, if it's bad, I want it to be really bad. So here's a few more for you just to kind of sprinkle some fun. At DraftKings, under 7.5 Browns points, plus 440. You can bet no touchdowns. That's 4-1. We're not getting 3 field goals from the Browns if we're right about this. So I'll just take the under 7.5 plus 440. Browns shutout, 0 points. And be sure to bet 0 points, because just in case we get a 0-0 tie, I'm not losing my bet on that thing. So not a shutout win, just Browns 0, 28-1. And then couldn't you just see like a punt into the, deep into the red zone area or whatever we call that on a punt, and a Raiders safety, Shadir like scrambling 1,000 yards backwards, running out of the end zone or something stupid. 17-1 at DraftKings for a Raiders safety. Look, this is just some fun haterade long shots. We all know that we're going to have to talk about this game on every show, every podcast. We're talking about it, I'm sure, Evan, on Sunday night. We will be the talking heads talking about the game, and it's going to be about Shadir, and I'm fading him. So have some fun, play some crazy long shots. Those are the ones I came up with.
It's called the coffin corner, I believe. That would be
There
like a term in terms of the good punt. I really hope it doesn't lead the show. God can only hope. I will say this. So last week, Shador, 21 dropbacks. He was pressured on 10 of them. What I thought was kind of interesting, he scrambled 3 times on those 10 pressures. So getting out of the pocket, usually more of a statue, doesn't usually run a ton. His line this week, so he had 16 rush yards. His line this week is 20.5 rush yards. The thing that I find kind of interesting, 5+ is plus 112 in the first quarter. So you're going to get at least maybe 2 drives. You're definitely going to get 1 drive. You're going to get a bunch of pressures there. So I think that's an option if you think it's going to go that route. The other 2 lines that are up currently, it's plus 283 on DraftKings to get sacked on the first drive for Cleveland. So you're going to get a few opportunities there. And plus 163 for a 3 and out. We're basically 3 plays, goodbye, punt the ball, plus 163. Believe punt is up to minus 140 on that first drive, which to me is a little crazy. But I think that 283 on the sack, probably the more interesting one. And then depending on how you believe the pressure will get to him, like I never thought Shador would be a runner. 20.5 sounds intriguing, but if he had 16 on 21 dropbacks, 20 is going to be easy to get if he survives the whole game. The only other thing I'll tell you about Shador, when you're looking at his pass chart from last week, the thing that really had me at least a little worried, he was 0 for 4, and I looked at those 4 throws myself, throwing to the left. So basically, he's a right-handed quarterback looking center and right. When he had to turn, he made no completions last week. So we'll see how that goes with like a larger sample size. But obviously, that's a little bit worrying. And it also seemed like the non-play action plays, dreadful. 3 of 13, 3.3 seconds to throw. 9 of 10 of those were pressured on non-play action. So we'll get a bigger sample size this week, but I think there's a few things there that are a little worrisome, especially with the Raiders are really good on the defensive line compared to like the secondary. But we're going to have to see if Shador can actually get into the secondary. So that will be how we look. There'll definitely be a lot more props, obviously, as we get closer, but those are some early looks there.
And beware, I'm noticing a lot of individual Shador props that are not typically available in most games, like that are not available for just a standard quarterback because of the buzz this is getting. To me, like as an NBA podcaster as well, those reek of Bronny James props. Like remember when Bronny was there and I was like, oh, Bronny, like just notice that they're all overs. They're only overs posting for all the Shador, 100 yards in each half and 10 yards in each quarter rushing. And it's only overs. I will not be betting one of those. I look at the lines. They're not good lines. I will not play those. Shador props are not the way to go. Fading Shador props is the way that I'm going to play this. And if he beats me this week, then I guess I'll move on after that and maybe admit that he's at least a backup quarterback or something, but he's going to have to prove it.
All right, is what it is. Let's be legendary this weekend. Time for one more pick before we get to the look ahead. Jets, Ravens. I'm going to try to back you up here, but what are you doing?
Give me the Jets. JETSML. Give me the Jets money line plus 900. All right. We've been red hot on our upset picks for like a month. I think this is probably where it ends. But we had to do another long shot after upsets and the crazy long shots last week. And honestly, almost any underdog in this range, I'm probably going to sprinkle if I can make any case at all. And I can kind of make a case here. So we already know about the Ravens. What's the case for the Jets? Something feels off about the Ravens to me. Like, I know we want it to just be like, oh, they're healthy and back. Everything's fine again. They don't really feel like the Ravens. And Lamar keeps popping on the injury report. Ankle this week, hamstring last week. They're not running the ball that well compared to what they have in the past. And the Jets' run defense is pretty solid. So I think they can slow down Henry somewhat. And really, the big mismatch should be Ravens passing against the number 31 pass defense that, remember, traded away Sauce Gardner and should be pretty terrible. Right now, the Ravens aren't punishing teams by a pass. Like, the Ravens of last year are not what they're playing right now. And the Jets are off extra rest from Thursday night. The Jets get Tyrod Taylor, who is an upgrade to a real quarterback that can actually throw the ball. And it's a revenge spot for Tyrod Taylor as well. Jets offense has been way better on the road. Dead last at home, 11th by DVOA on the road. The Ravens have not been good at home this season. Now, mostly, I think, because Lamar missed 3 home games. So I don't make too much of that. But I just feel like we talked about Seahawks-Titans and this kind of that being a somewhat ugly sort of game. I think I see something similar to here, but the Jets having a real shot to get over the line. Ravens first 3 games this season, 37 points a game. Since then, 20 points a game. So almost half of that. The Jets have been within 1 score in the fourth quarter, 8 out of 10 games. So they've hung around. Tyrod has more than a touchdown underdog in his career, 6-3 ATS. He's won outright as 8, 8.5, and 10-point underdogs. And then here's the stat that caught me all in the first place and why I'm always going to play a plus 900. Moneyline underdogs of between plus 750 and 1,000. Since 2018, they're 4-15 straight up, which doesn't seem great, but 4-15 is about once every 5 times. This is 9-1, and do shop around because I see it as low as 6-1 at some books. That's almost like 50% extra payout for us. And when the long shot gets long, it just can't quite catch up to like, oh, the Jets are 1% less likely to win. Okay, well, that totally shifted the long shot odds. That's the play. We maybe get a blowout here. That's the most likely result. I'm hoping for like a 17-16 Jets mess of a game that leads our rundown on Sunday night because how did the Ravens blow this one and ruin the season? Jets plus 900 money line. Let's go one more underdog and see if we can hit it.
All right, so I'll give you the good news and then I'll give you the bad news. The good news is Jets are double-digit dogs back-to-back games. It's a good trend. 71-44 against the spread, 62%. Double-digit dogs in back-to-back games on that second leg. So basically, you were shit in the first one. We made you a double-digit dog again. Line was inflated. Congratulations, you covered. The good news, of those games, you got 20 outright wins. Okay, so that's 17%. And like you were talking about, sounds crappy. Really isn't. 11.5% ROI. That seems nice. So that's the good news. The good news is, like, in history, the spot's decent. The bad news is you're trying to make history. John Harbaugh, 31-0 as a favorite of above 10 points in his career. So this is going to be amazing because we're going to get – you and I do a lot of pods together. We're going to jump on 31-1. Jets money line. Tyrod Taylor doesn't turn it over. They win the game 17-14 on a 47-yard field goal to shock the world. Can't wait. Jets money line. It'll get up to 1,000. It'll sit right under that. Your stat will work. My stat will work. And that's what I'll be tweeting. I'll be tweeting. You'll see it come from my feed. 31-1, John Harbaugh. And Brandon Anderson would have done it again. All right, let's get to your look ahead. Week 13, we are coming down to the wire here. Week 13, lucky 13. Last week, you had the Lions minus 9.5. This week, Thanksgiving, question mark?
Yeah, the time-honored tradition of betting against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Let's keep it very easy.
Here we are.
Fade the Cowboys, bet the Chiefs. Chiefs minus 3.5. Since 2011, Dallas is 3-11 against the spread on Thanksgiving. 21% cover rate. Just bet against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. To me, Thanksgiving is a lot about trends as far as it bettors. So we'll come back next week. Our podcast, I think, will be up early for Thanksgiving, so you'll be able to hear it. I'm heavy trends on Thanksgiving. My pick six will be very Thanksgiving flavored. That will be up early in the week. Everything will be up for you next week here on the feed. So be sure to check that out. And Thanksgiving, you want any favorite as long as it's not Dallas. 31 and 11 ATS last couple decades, 74% for all non-Cowboys favorites on Turkey Day. Even better if they are public favorites. I can't imagine anything but that here. The Chiefs either will be confidence restored after beating the Colts, or they'll be 5-6 backs against the wall. They got to win on Thanksgiving. Like either way, the public's betting the Chiefs. Public favorites on Thanksgiving, 79% ATS. So I just like the Chiefs here. I'm going to like it pretty much no matter what, as long as Patrick's out there. Lots of talk this week about, are the 5-5 Chiefs better than last year's team? They would be 10-0 if you flip the one-score games. All their wins are by 13 or more. So I'm going to grab the line now. The Chiefs are clearly better offensively, clearly better defensively. It's Mahomes, it's Andy, it's a big spot. Everyone's watching on Thanksgiving. We all know how Mahomes plays when everyone's watching in a big holiday spot. Now, the one hesitation, and I'm going to answer what you probably should be asking, should we wait? Could we get Chiefs below 3? What if the Chiefs lose to the Colts? What if Dallas does win? I like them to win this week. Shouldn't I wait? I don't know, man. Are we getting Chiefs under 3 on Thanksgiving? They're going to take every dollar in the world if they give out Chiefs under 3 against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. I can't see it. It's already 4.5 at a couple of books elsewhere. I'm going to take the 3.5. I don't even think we're going to get the 3. I don't think we're going to need the 3 either. I think the Chiefs win with some amount of comfort and finally get a decent win. It's what we do on Thanksgiving. We eat some turkey and we watch the Cowboys upset and lose again like usual and fail to cover the spread. So Chiefs minus 3.5 on Thanksgiving. We'll come back for more. Lots of Thanksgiving treats and picks to come on next week's podcast.
Yeah, I was going to mention that's creeping up right now, 4.5. So I see actually the number 3.5, 4, and 4.5. So definitely find the best number there. In terms of my content, I'll actually have a primer live for Thanksgiving, probably Sunday night after our podcast. So all the favorites, all the public sides, all that good stuff will be in there for you by Monday morning. So definitely go on and check that out. And that'll do it here on the Action Hour podcast for our Week 12 Best Bets episode presented by DraftKings. If you want instant notifications when action experts track their bets, go to actionhour.com/pro. Use a promo code POD20 for $20 off a year of Action Pro. And if you haven't yet, please make sure to check out our new AI Quick Slip bot on X. Just tag Playbook at Playbook. Tell it to grab whatever bet you're looking for, and it'll create a Quick Slip link for you in a matter of seconds. And again, if you want to tell some of the bets we gave out today, make sure to look for the Quick Slip link in the podcast and video description, or go to actionhour.com/bet-now. All the bets will be listed there. Simply just click them. They open up in the Operators app. Super, super easy. We'll be back on Sunday night for our NFL recap show. That'll be live on Action Network's YouTube page shortly after Sunday Night Football, where we will talk only Shedeur Sanders. That's a joke. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the slate. Good luck with all your bets this weekend. Let's hit a bunch.